Okay, there we go. I don't know what happened, but the second we get a viewer, we're going to start in. Hey, Hertoasty, good to see ya. Well, at least I think we have one viewer, and I've got some other people probably on the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. Seeing as when you do the MSQ, you get the video that plays beforehand, I think it makes the most sense to start by going to the Unending Journey and going ahead and playing that video. I'm just gonna check one more thing on my HUD. And then we will get started. That can stay away. Okay. And if anyone has any questions or any thoughts, I would love to have a further conversation. So, for now, let's get started. Oh, fun tidbit for anyone who cares. If you ever want to see the openings for Limsa, Gridania, or Uldah, it's not actually under the MSQ, it's under side quests, because each of your characters can start from different city-states. It just functions really weirdly. Okay, so we're looking for... My first character was a paladin, so we're doing Uldah. And beginning in 3, 2, 1. Ooh, favorite race. Fuck. That's really hard. I'll think about this while this plays, and then I'll give you an answer.
Here. Here. Feel.
See, the interesting question is with how repetitious those lines are, both in here and during answers and throughout the game, you have to wonder if Hydaelyn is basically on autopilot, because that's what some of the later story kind of seems to suggest. Also, if anyone hasn't cleared Shadowbringers, let me know and I'll try to avoid any spoilers, or even Heavensward Stormblood as well. And so ARR began exactly how it ends. Big weapon of light hitting La Habrea in the face. To answer your question about favorite race, so meme-wise, I actually really do appreciate Lalafell. I can't take them seriously, but I do appreciate Lalafell. I also think they genuinely have interesting lore when you look at places like Nim or Sildi or Uldah. And I think that ends up counting for a lot within their history. Whereas with the other races, like here are just kind of all over the place. They don't really have they have cultures, and like there's the Hingan, Othardian here that come about, but like they're just kind of there. They don't have super interesting culture. Yeah, yes. Look, I know it was clickbaity, but it's true. They do. Lalafell poison their children. Like, this is a thing that happens. I feel like I really like Rogadin, but mostly because I just don't think they get enough love. I like Final Fantasy 12, so Viera are cool. I'm just listing all the races now. Yeah. I think if we're talking from a purely lore perspective, I may probably have to go with Lalafell. If we're talking about, like, seriously, weirdly enough, I'm maybe just because I'm human-centric, but I like here because I like how, like, just classical they look. So, I mean, that's why I play here. But I super want to know more about Rogadin. Like, we know some, but, like, I want to know more about the Northern Seas and where they come from. Yes, favorite race outside of Final Fantasy XIV or MMOs can be a very strange topic and question to ask. Okay. How do you even poison one's tears? What does that mean? Do you poison the child and then that makes it so when they cry the tears are poisoned and then you feed them their own tears? I feel like this is just getting darker all the time. Alright, I'm going to move on to the next part. Also, let me know if people want me to read the lines out loud. Slow that down just a bit. Also, let me know if you want auto text to speed up or slow down. So the Brass Blades are the basically private army of the Syndicate. I'm just going to go ahead and fucking say random lore bits that come to mind because, easy forget. But that does matter later on. So just worth remembering. I wish there was more in ARR2. I also wish that they would go back and revoice with their newer voices the old characters that they have. But like I said, if you guys want me to do voice acting, or at least voicing the lines in the text boxes as they come up, let me know and I'll do that. Well, that's interesting. They said you'll rot in a dungeon. They like always use the term jail because of the not Halatali. Or maybe it is Halatali. The because there's a like dungeons place that they have that they always spell Gaol or Gaoal, but it's supposed to be read like jail. Also, fun fact: regardless of where you start, the Alice and Alfino are always there, and they're just really surreptitiously in the background. Okay, I can read them then. I'll slow them down a bit. Phew, that kind of excitement ain't good for the heart. You be careful around them brass blades, lad. Bastards will have shirt off your back if they fancy it. Like common bandits they are, only less honest. Okay, not unfair, but also harsh. Thank the gods for sending some beastmen to the rescue, eh? Hey, seeing as we still got a long ride ahead, you mind keeping me company till we arrive? I mean, like you were just gonna... I mean, I guess you could have sat there in silence. Them youngins don't much care for conversations, see? Regardless of where you start, they're always taking a nap. Brendit's the name, and Pedalin's me trade. Also, it's worth remembering, and judging by your usual garments, I'll wager you're one of them. You're one of them new adventurers. It's worth kind of seeing how this opening scene mirrors the opening of Shadowbringers. I knew it. Going wherever the wind blows, seeking fortune and glory. Now that's what I call living. Truly quality foreshadowing. So long as you can avoid dying, I mean, ain't no secret that adventuring's a risky business these days, especially. What was it that first attracted you to it? None of these are true. It was to help others. I'll just go game power, because it's first choice. Power, as in, power to do good? Like protecting the weak and fighting for what's right and all that? I thought that's what you meant. Well, adventurers do get up to a lot of fighting, that's for sure. You'll never be short of a chance to polish your warcraft in the adventuring business. It's very fascinating that they chose... And telling that, you know, Square chose to make this the opening. It's not action-y, it's not flashy, it's a small conversation between two people. When you arrive in town, you best enroll at the Adventurers Guild. They'll set you on the right path. What were you confused about? Seeing? Sighing? Sorry, I'm not great at pronunciation. Uldah's home to a few, so if you fancy learning how to fight with a sword, your fists, or even spells, you should think about seeking one out. Funny enough, he's pointing out Paladin, Pugilist, and Thaumaturge at that point. Just remember, though, there's one important thing. Then fortune and glory, such as breathing. Ain't no profit in being dead, and that's a fact. Cian? Is that correct? Cian? Is this your first trip to Uldah? Okay, well, technically it's not mine. And if we assume that my hero is the hero from the Battle of Cartnau, it would not be my first trip. But I wouldn't remember that, necessarily. Let's pretend I vaguely do. But of course it ain't. Still might be, as this journey itinerant has a few new things to teach you about your destination. Ahem. Science. Okay, cool. So Cyan. Got it. Uldah is ruled by Sultana in name, but as most folks know, the Syndicate holds all the real power. That's not relevant at any point. Them and their monetarist cronies would happily get rid of her grace altogether, but that won't happen while she commands the loyalty of the royalists, and the royalists are nothing if not loyal. That's a mouthful. These factions have long fought over power, throwing the weight of their wealth against each other, and they show no signs of stopping. Of course, the lizard men, that's the Amalja, couldn't care less about the Uldan politics. They have their own interests, see, and they ain't afraid to use force to serve them. I mean, to be fair, though, 20 years ago, Uldah kicked the Amalja out. I mean, they were part and parcel to the community at one point. They say war is a gift to peddlers. Need breed and profit, and though it just shames me to say, I'm inclined to agree. Need breeds profit. At long last. Behold Uldah, the jewel of Thanalan. Oh, good. I'm glad that this can help contextualize it and make it more clear for you.
Deep in the sun-baked south, surrounded by the shifting sands of an endless desert, she rises, a solitary rose amidst the dust and rock, a symbol of defiance. Her name, Uldah.
Out of curiosity, for all of you, when you picked your starting nation, did you pick it because you liked the nation? Did you pick it just based on you picked a class and you liked that class? I'd love to know.
Springs eternal for the mongers and merchants who vie for lost fortunes in this bustling oasis.
Also, let me know if audio's imbalanced at all.
As
I can try and fix it.
the twin faces of Naltol maintain their vigil over all that has been and shall be, the present proffers a brave soul.
Naltol is one of the 12.
One whose arrival could mark the beginning of a new era of prosperity for the realm.
And here's where we part, lad. So when you go to pick your class, it actually tells you what city you're going to start in. That's how you, and it gives you a little descriptor. Here, I want you to have this by way of thanks for putting up with me, prattle. And just there, you can see Alphino and Alice walking by. You never did tell me your name, though. Hey, but here's an idea. Become the sort of storied personage I can brag about having met, and I'll consider us square.
May the traders nurture our fortunes as they kindle the flames which burn within us all. For by fire are we reborn.
I feel like this is the last time that they ever... I mean, I think they use some promotional material, but this is the last time you ever really see that logo for Final Fantasy XIV. I could be wrong about that, though. And Toasty, to your point, that's fair. I think they give you a little blurbs, and I might be wrong about that. I'm so used to being someone who, like, before I do a game, do a little research that I had baseline assumed that. But yeah, of course, if you don't know a whole bunch, I just... The fact that they show images for each of them, and one's like a naval city, like one's water and naval, one's a desert, and one's a forest. I know that one of my friends, for instance, picked Gridania because they just really like classic forest-ass cities. Or, yeah, there you go. Carly picked Gridania because of the aesthetic. I'm like most of you, though, I picked based on class, so... And I did kind of like Uldah. One of the fun facts, though, there's a nod there to Naltol, which is kind of the patron deity of Uldah. And one thing that's fun to note is that each of the states have a patron. So, like, you have Uldah with Naltol, you have Gridania with Nafika, and you have Limsa with Limlane, the navigator. And, you know, Kurthus with Halone, and Ralger with Alamigo. So... Oh, and Thaliak with Charland. The statue you see in the Endwalker trailer, that pouring water, that's a statue of Thaliak. If you go back in time to, like, the 5th Astral Era, there are cities, the Nim, Mach, and Amdapor all also had patron gods. As far as we know, they don't repeat. Or, you know, when you do the Wanderer's Palace, the dungeon, that's a structure of Nim. The Wanderer is Oshan, one of the 12 again. So there's actually a lot of information and tidbits about the 12 that are super easy to miss because they're not usually on the forefront of any of the conflicts. But especially with the new Alliance raid coming out for Endwalker, which is called Myths of the Realm, and is the one thing we know about it is it's an image of the I'm forgetting its name, but in Gridania there's a temple to the 12, and it's basically an image of that. Tells us that it's probably almost certainly about the 12, and also with the amount that's kind of been laid for the groundwork of that, and yet we've never really explored, it makes so much sense to make it a huge thing. Game audio is weird. Sounds like it's having an echo. No, let's see. I'm going to try... let me try this. Let me know. I'm going to do this. Let me know if it sounds better. I'm going to read chat real quick. Yeah, Limsa's pretty great, especially if you love Hives of Degeneracy. It's definitely, it's something. I'm gonna futz around with the audio more, please let me know if it gets better or not. It very much could be that I had two separate things recording the audio and playing them back. In the meantime, if no one else has any other thoughts, I'm going to go ahead and start the final... I think that should be the final video before we can actually get into gameplay. Oh. Why, hello there. Who wait, did I don't... I think I skipped over one. Is it? Sign, you gotta... Is it, well, okay. The couple of times I've passed it by, even in Zalera, it's not been great. You gotta appreciate the degenerates, though. They do make the place feel lively, if nothing else. I fucking love Uldah. I know Uldah has problems, and I know like the whole thing with the syndicate and corruption stuff is a constant thing. But I like that the game, if you pay attention, isn't just being like, oh, it's this terrible place. It's a place fighting to be good and fighting against its bad. Like it's people, right? It's people fighting for personal interests versus trying to do the right thing. And honestly, that even pops up in Gridania and Limsa quite frequently too. So it's not just an Uldah thing, but because of especially the bridge, the interstitial between ARR and Heaven's Word, it is very foremost and forefront how much of things are a problem in Uldah. Fresh off the carriage by chance, eh? Name's Wymond. My business is knowing every bugger else's. All the colloquialisms in this game get me. I love Zalera. I've been here for forever, and I've been here since I started playing, and I find that it's the best parts of having a high population center, but also not one of the main population centers. I don't know if it has an identity like Diablos has an identity, but maybe that's a good thing. Now then, what if we was to offer some invaluable advice by way of welcome to our fair city? Free of charge, of course. You talk to him, he basically sends you over to the Adventurers Guild. And that's what we're going to see next. Yeah, Balmuk. Why, hello there. Who might you be? Momodi. Or as I like to call Tataru 1.0. If you're looking to join the Adventurers Guild, you've come to the right place. At least while you're in Uldah, she's kind of Tataru-esque. Not quite as good. Name's Momodi, and I own this fine establishment, if it please you. I also manage the Adventurers Guild here in Uldah, so you might say I'm looking after green adventurers like yourself is my vocation. And lucky for you, that is, without someone like me to steer you right, you'd soon find yourself out in the middle of nowhere, caught up in business you don't understand. Because that never happened at any other point in the story. Even when I do understand the business, I don't understand the full context of the business. Like our conflict with Yamalja, for example. They've been plaguing the Sultanate for nigh on, forever now. Again, 20 years is not forever. Slick would be within their lifespan. Then there's the Garlian Empire. None can say for sure what they're plotting these days, only that they are. There. Let me know if the audio got better. Aye, the people drink and make merry, but underneath it all there's worry and lingering feeling of loss. And little wonder, it's scarce been 5 years since the Lesser Moon cracked open like a giant egg, releasing an abomination intent on turning the realm into an 8th hell. Also, if anyone needs any context for some of the events of 1.0 or for, the Battle of Cartnow, let me know. So much was lost in the blink of an eye. 'Twas like the end of the world had come at last. I mean, without Louis Swa, it would have been the end of the world. But then things began to get foggy. Everyone's got their own version of what happened next. Some of them 2 or 3. You'd think people would remember something like that, but the fact is, they don't. Nobody does. So this is a key thing. No one remembers the warriors who existed, the warriors of light who were around at the beginning of 1.0 and at the Battle of Cardinal. There is one thing that survivors agree on, though. The part played by a band of adventurers who laid down their lives for the realm, that wasn't their own. Laid down their lives for a realm that wasn't their own. They fought valiantly, and like so many others, they never returned. Deeds worth remembering, I'm sure you'll agree. It's just a shame our recollections of those brave heroes are as jumbled as those of the calamity itself. That's one of the ways that they justify... so, like, if you have a 1.0 account, you, instead of having, like, an intro like that, you just teleport into the world. Whenever we try to call their faces to mind, it's like they're standing between us and the midday sun, permanently silhouetted. I'll bet this sounds poetic to you, doesn't it? Well, it's not. It's bloody infuriating. But even if we can't remember them, we'll not let them be forgotten, and so we can call them the Warriors of Light. And they'll forever stand as a shining example of what adventurers can achieve. That's why I welcome new arrivals like yourself to our fair city. All I ask is that you lend a helping hand and try to leave Uldah in a better state than you found her. If you can promise that, I'd be happy to let you join the guild. All right then, a promise is a promise now. I'm counting on your help to put the past behind us. We need people working and spending and bricking like the old days. And a happy and prosperous Uldah means more business for the quicksand, too. Any road, let's make this official. Go ahead and write your name in the register, neat as you can. Lend Shake. Well, ain't that charming name? Just rolls off the tongue, it does. All right, Master Shige. On behalf of the Adventurers Guild, I officially... Please, sir, be merciful. 12 as my witness, I swear to you. I'll bring you your money. Ah, gangster Lalafell. Debt collector. In the East, it is said that even a merciful god might be driven to vengeance if thrice blasphemed. But grateful you were, given a fourth chance to offend. You two, attend to this scum. He's doing this in the middle of the Adventurers Guild? Okay, I guess it's also a bar. No, please, mercy. Well, ain't that a sorry sight? Nor an uncommon one. If I'm honest. Don't worry, though. If you work hard, I doubt you'll end up like him. Okay, I guess that's why you do it in the middle of the bar, because even the fucking bar runner doesn't give a shit. Just the same, if you ever need a bit of advice about one thing or another, pay me a visit. Just don't go bothering me every time you stub your bloody toe, alright? Of course, I do enjoy hearing tell of a gentleman's woes with woes with the women folk from time to time. Any road, welcome to Uldah, Lendriel. Take a moment to catch your breath, and I'll teach you a little bit about our fair city. And now we're on to gameplay. So I'm going to be playing... My intent is to play through A Realm Reborn and Heaven's Word and Stormblood and Shadowbringers before Endwalker, which is going to be a lot. But luckily I won't have to do side quests and stuff because, and even certain fights because, you know, I've already done them. The thing to note is I will be playing the correct class. I'll be playing Warrior, Dragoon, Monk, then Samurai, and end with Dark Knight, which is my main. I've played all the classes quite a bit, but I forget certain abilities. So if it's not excellent play, forgive me. So the important thing there, though, is it's been 5 years since the Battle of Cardinal when Bahamut and Dalamud fell and Bahamut came out and a whole bunch of shit happened. One of the things that happened is Louisoix, when he knew that they were fucked, teleported the Warriors of Light away. And then when you play, if you have a 1.0 account and you start a new character, instead of like just coming in on a carriage, you actually first teleport in, and as if you were teleported through time. But everyone having foggy memories about the events after Cardinal is part of how they get around people not remembering you. It's also possible that that's also just a byproduct of events around a calamity, because we also kind of seem to have evidence to suggest that every time we get multiple types of stories about what happens during calamities. So it may very well be that people just aren't. Things get wonky with the world when calamities take place, which would make sense, seeing as you're literally, well, spoilers for Shadowbringers, rejoining a world. Actually, that's not Shadowbringers. That's told to you as early as Heaven's Word. I do not have all classes to 80 sign. I'm working on it. I have, this is what I've got so far. I wasn't worrying about it for a long time because I mainly only played tanks. And I played the others a little bit, but I'm a tank main far and away. But recently, past month or two, I've been like, okay, before Endwalker, my goal is I want everyone to 80, and I don't want to have to worry about this anymore. So I have been doing that. And my first main focus is to get everyone to 70 who isn't there. And then between Pixies and Boja, level them that way, because Boja and Pixies are so much faster than 50 to 70 is. Let's reset that. So, let's start New Game Plus. I guess I forgot to. What about you guys? What's your preferred role and/or class, if you have one? Momodi of the Quicksand wants you to introduce you to a certain someone at the Uldah dispatch yard. Well, youngling, how are you finding our final Uldah? How are you finding our final Uldah then? Got your bearings about you yet? Sheesh, all the apostrophes are throwing me off. If so, mayhap it's time you ventured beyond the city's walls. The bustling streets of Uldah are one thing, but the wilds of Thanalan, that's another altogether. I know a bloke you might fancy speaking to, and he you. Name of Papashan. You'll find him over at the Uldah dispatch yard. No doubt he'll have some work for you. It's interesting that Papashan would be... Papashan's basically is Nanamo's attendant and not the leader, but one of the higher ups of the paladins and the Sultanate guards. Why would... This dispatch yard over in central Thanalan, just head out the door across the hall and you'll see the gate of Nald staring right back at you. Pass through it and head east. You'll come upon it for long. There's dangers beyond the wall, though. More than I can count. Nothing too terrible, mind you, but feisty enough to attack if you draw near. Don't say nobody cared enough to warn you. Ah yes, my level 80 ass is going to have a hard time with all those level 4 ladybugs. Nice. How you been enjoying Bard? I think Bard... I've been playing Bard in Palace of the Dead and stuff, so only 60 Bard. I enjoy the dots. I don't know how I'd love it if I was maining it, but then again, I don't DPS maining it's not what I live for. So like I was saying earlier, you'll notice that there's the two gates of the two areas of Uldah, and that's the Steps of Nald and the Steps of Thal. Nald and Thal are not two different gods. They are one of the 12. It's not clear if they're two separate entities, one entity that's dual aspected in nature. There's a lot of different kind of claims for how it functions, but the important thing to know is that he is only one of the 12, even though he is two aspects. Look, I don't make up the rules. Mythology and, religion is weird. Let's... Just a moment. Okay. Yeah, it absolutely... So, Science says it's about Bard. It's a lot of looking at your hotbar, then looking back at the boss for dots, RNG procs. That is 100% what it is. And for my money, if I'm going to do... okay, that's just not working. I'm just going to... Where is it? If I'm gonna play an RNG class, I'm gonna play Dancer because I love how it flows and moves. I get why some people don't like the RNG, but with Dancer, at least it's mostly just the feathers and it's all what's on the bar rather than having to look at the boss much. I just love the fluid motions and animation and movement of Dancer. So I definitely feel that. And despite my lack of love for DPS, I still try them out too because I think, yeah, it's good to, if nothing else, it's really helpful to have a full, like a baseline understanding of every class so you know how someone's functioning and what they're likely to do when you're playing with them. Okay, Papa Shan. Well, you certainly look the part of an adventurer, my friend. Might you be the good soul Momodi advised me to expect? I'm Papa Shan, station master of this humble dispatch yard. How have I forgotten this? Wait, so is he the station master of the dispatch yard and all of his other responsibilities? Or is this a front? I cannot remember for the life. An empty title, I assure you. I truly am no more than a tired old Lalafell passing his final years in quiet and solitude. Okay, this is bullshit. 12s know that there have been plenty of both these last 5 years since the calamity struck. The devastation was vast. Yet now true Uldans work together, doing all in our power to rebuild what was laid to ruin. By the sweat of our brows and the love of our home, we have rebuilt Uldah to the grandeur and majesty that you see today. The railway which runs through the dispatch yard too was born of this noble effort, of a great many souls. But there is still much work to be done. The wounds left by the calamity run deep. Isolated areas beyond our lines of supply and remain. There's that. And there are places yet wanting for relief and restoration. Okay. Cool. Sorry about that. Yeah, Dancer is definitely a lot more streamlined. It moves. I don't know how else to put it in that. It really flows. Uldah needs the aid of you and your brethren, friend. In fact, never has our need been more dire. Which brings me to the point. I suppose I do believe I may have some work suited to one of your ability. Station map for that. Since you've come all this way, perhaps you can perform an errand for me. It just so happens that a number of sentries have been sent to guard the area. A dispatch to the dispatch yard, as it were. They have long been away from the shade and feathered beds of the city. The hot days and cold nights can play hells on the mind and body out here. It isn't much, but go and give them these twilight pretzels. Would you? I find comfort food always helps when I feel like killing. Wait. Okay, I need to read that again. It isn't much, but go and give them these twilight pretzels, would you? I find comfort food always helps when I feel like killing myself. What a fucking line! Oh, Papa Shan. Halt, sir. I'm going to have to ask you to put the pretzel on the ground and place your hands above your head. Ah, yes, the dangerous weapon of pretzel. State your name and your business. A twilight pretzel from Papa Shan? By the gods, forgive me. You could say this new post has my nerves in a twist. Who wrote this? It must have been Koji. I'm terribly sorry for that. Yes, well, you may rest assured that the dispatch yard is safe so long as I stand watch. Please give Papa Shan my thanks and tell him that I only wish I could repay the favor. Sign. He good? Who are you referring to? Papa Shan? Yeah, Papa Shan's good. Both literally, he is definitely good. He is a good guy, but also he has some great moments, and it's funny because he's one of those examples of Lalafell's, like, constant examples of Lalafell's not being the, like, twee. Like, you look at Lalafell and people are like, oh, obviously they're going to be twee. And then you see how many of them are, like, gangsters, muggers, and just, like, all around, like, shifty dudes. Like, the races do not, like, and there are Roganins who are very, like, lovely and gentle individuals. So the thing is it's not as simple as just, like, oh, you know, there's only one, there's not just one disposition, you know? Western front clear. Eastern front clear. Let's read the pretzel real quick. A traditional Dunes folk bread, twisted into the shape of a knot and sprinkled generously with coarsely ground salt before being baked to a perfect brown, resembling twilight over Thanalan. I'm not sure I would call it brown, but, you know, okay, sure. Pretzels are serious business, it's true. For me, from Papashan, a Twilight pretzel, my favorite. How did he know? Can't fight on an empty stomach now, can I? Actually can't fight on any stomach. I suppose you could say I have no stomach for fighting. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I think he's the master of the train yard because the Sultan Sworn are the ones who protect it. And the Sultan Sworn are all gladiators or paladins. I don't think they're all paladins, but I think most members of at least the Thanalan paladins seem to all be Sultan Sworn, and that they are basically the royalists. They serve the Sultana and are not just purely righteous good, but they are like we are the good peacekeepers, and the Brass Blades are some of us are good and some of us are the absolute worst. Can anyone give me a quick check on the audio? Oh, Karine? I'd love to know how to pronounce it. Thanks so much. That really means a lot. Put a lot of work into it, and glad you could catch the live stream. My hope and intent is to try to do these every Friday, and try to get through as much of the MSQ before we get to Endwalker. Also, these will be archived on the Plus channel, not the main channel. I won't be... I like to keep things very clean, and I don't want to just be like, and here's all this, like a bunch of live streams on top of people trying to actually find the specific lore videos. So that'll always be an option as well. 12 save me. Scorching days, freezing nights. This post will be the end of me. A Twilight pretzel? Don't mind if I do. Now that's a refreshing goddamn pretzel. I feel reborn. So Carly, I think they definitely agree with you. Pretzels are in fact serious business, especially Thanalan pretzels. I'm just gonna put mount on random, and we'll see what we get. And again, if anyone has any questions, and even just like random lore things, I'm happy to either answer or try to figure. We'll try to do some research and figure it out together. So far, we've covered things about Uldah, the 12, and Cartnow. You've returned, and with a deal fewer pretzels. I see. Tell me, how fare our Sultan Sworn sentries? Did they have anything to report? Anything at all? What? Nothing? Are you sure? Oh dear. Take this for your troubles then, and stay a moment. There is more I would ask of you. I think, if I recall right, this is Nanamos is sneaking out again. Lendriel, I have just this moment. No. The time for concealment is past. The truth is, even before I had you deliver those pretzels, I was privy to some most unsettling news. Which is the real reason I sent you to meet those Sultan Sworn. Papashan is in dire need of your assistance. A young noblewoman from a very prestigious family has run away from home, and I have been ordered to see her safe return. The Sultan Sworn you met earlier are assisting me with the search. Alas, it seems they have found no trace of her. Papashan, you lying son of a bitch. I apologize for not being frank with you from the start, but we must proceed. You're still not being frank with me! But we must proceed with caution. Should word of her disappearance spread, I fear others with less honorable motives may join the hunt. And should we allow her to come to any harm, not even 100 beheadings would be punishment enough. That cannot happen, Lendriel. It must not. I need your help. I need you to help me find her. Praise the 12! I knew I could count on you. As we get into Heavensward and Stormblood, we will have more dialogue options, I promise. I've instructed the others to expand the search, but Thanalan is vast, and there are only so many of us. The young noblewoman's name is Lady Lilira. I want you to go south and look for in the vicinity of the Sultan Tree. Good luck. That is the alias by which Nanamo goes when she is sneaking out. So, hey, good to see you. Glad you could come for the stream. We're just playing through ARR and covering any lore we can. Thanks so much for showing up. Ooh, I got invited to a raffle that is definitely in no way a bot trying to steal my account. Okay. Hooded Lullafell. Oh, Sultan Tree. If I remember right, we're about to get some audio, some voiceover. Nanamo's original voice actor from ARR is not good. Not many of them are, but it's very not good. So just, it does get better for any of those who have not made it into Heavensward. Let's just do very easy. I know I'm skilled. I don't have to, y'all know I can make it through and, you know, save some time.
Oh, Sultan Tree, hallowed spirit of my line, forgive my weakness.
No, I totally forgot to do that. My bad.
Show yourself.
And there he is, Thancred Waters.
As you command, O Lilira.
I actually think Thancred's original is okay. It's not as good as it gets, but it's okay.
Forgive my selfish desire to assure your welfare.
I don't recall requesting an escort. Simply pretend we never met and continue on your way.
We both know I can do no such thing. It isn't safe for you here alone. It isn't safe for anyone. Not with this etheric disturbance. It's as though the dead are watching us. And I'd prefer
Sarian, I'll respond to you in
join
just
them.
1 second after the
It's all
cutscene.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Ah, you must be the one that Papa Shan mentioned. Congratulations on finding our elusive young charge. You'll have to forgive her impetuousness. What she lacks in discipline, she makes up for in stubbornness. You should return with us. The station master will be eager to thank Lady Lilira's protector in person.
It's interesting that we're befallen by a void scent.
Alas, the station master will have to wait. Dear Lilira, for my sake, please stay out of harm's way.
Because in Gridania, it's Trent's. I think it is a...
As for you, dear friend,
I don't remember what it is in
for
Limsa.
Lilira's sake, please stay in harm's way.
Yes, once you've heard the later voice acting, hearing the old voice acting, heard the newer voice acting, the older voice acting is... Woof, it's a time. And Sarine, that is actually, scripts are for synopsises for the class quests, the main story, and all that are things that I am working on currently. The scripting is going along well. The big issue is usually just gathering footage. It takes a long period of time to get everything set up and gather it. Luckily for synopsises, I'd mostly be able to do the cutscenes and then non-cutscenes where needed, so that should speed it up, but that is absolutely a thing that is going to come out. It's just a matter of time. I do all the scripting and footage gathering and editing, so there's only so much one person can do on the video side. I have other partners who work on the website and do other work as well. One of them is in the chat. It just takes time, but yes, that is 100%. I would love to know if people have a preference on what they would like synopses for first. Or is it more important to have the main story, or is it more important to have something like the Red Mage quest line? Or because I know that a lot of people have all the cutscenes for the main story, but a lot of people either haven't done or have utterly forgotten the class quests. And a lot of those, I have a distinct feeling, are going to be very, very, very important going into Endwalker. And frankly, I think just about any profession quest and most side quests will in some way have even a small nod. Just knowing the history of Yoshi's team and the way in which they really do just oodles and oodles of small nods all throughout, I would think that there is really no profession content and not a whole lot of any content that's wouldn't be worth doing, because I'm sure there will be at least minor callbacks. It's interesting though that it's a void scent and not like a natural enemy. I mean, I guess that makes sense in line with like kind of like the Thaumaturge quest line, but like Gridania has Hawk Manor and other stuff. There's no reason that void scent should be any more the enemy you fight here than the other places. And here's the first crystal. The crystals that you get are kind of complicated in what they do. So first off, there's a difference between the Echo and the Blessing of Light. The Echo is something that if you've played Shadowbringers, you understand where it actually comes from. The Blessing of Light does specifically come from Hydaelyn itself. They aren't the same thing. The crystals are kind of wonky, but they connect you to Hydaelyn in a sense. Which is why that mandala appears both now and pretty much anytime Hydaelyn is around, and also why when Midgard Summer disconnects you from Hydaelyn, it goes dark. Disconnects you from the Blessing of Light, I should say. What's interesting, though, is you're given the Blessing of Light, and then you see the meteor shower, which is why it's very easy to assume the Echo and the Blessing of Light are the same thing, because you functionally awaken both at the same time within the story. Sarah, and I hear you. Oh, here, I'll wait till this cutscene's done.
I am Hydaelyn, all made one.
If you know Shadowbringers, I would pay close attention to her language.
That shone throughout this realm, yet it hath since grown dim. And as it hath faltered, so hath darkness risen up in its stead, presaging an end to life. For the sake of all, I beseech thee, deliver us from this fate.
The interesting question is, how aware is Hydaelyn / Vana of your identity?
Dwelleth in the crystals of light. Journey forth and lay claim to them.
So pretty.
By thy deeds shall the crystals reveal themselves to thee. Only believe, for the light liveth in thy heart.
The other interesting question is, like, are the other people you're seeing there just souls? Are they other people blessed by light? There may be a more definitive answer, but I don't know if that's entirely clear. It also is possible that they're souls from other shards. And other heroes of light from other shards. I mean, they weren't thinking about that when they made this, but, you know, we have to speculate.
Go now, my child, and shine thy light on all creation.
I love how one of the things that happens for the first bit of the story is every time you suffer from the echo or things like it, you get knocked out. So you're just constantly basically a narcoleptic, be just like fucking passing out all over the place. And they're like, and you're our greatest hero.
Would you mind telling me what that was?
If I only knew. A denizen of the void at any rate.
Nanamo's not supposed to be this petulant.
The void sent? Here? But how?
That's part of the problem with the voice acting is actually the direction for it makes certain characters seem much worse than they are.
But who? We're not dealing with bookless bandits. Don't suppose the answer came to you in a dream?
More of a vision, really.
No sooner did you fell the beast than you fell asleep. Too much ether, no doubt. Interesting. I hadn't considered the crystal. But of course, this changes everything.
Now, as one of the scions, he,
Oh, just thinking aloud? At any rate, we haven't a moment to spare. I must return and report this at once.
Clearly, he's a scion. It's him realizing, maybe the Warrior of Light's shown up.
Capable hands.
How dare you pass me about like a swaddled babe?
Nanamo, you are a swaddled babe.
I shall return and tell them myself.
Okay, you're also like, I think in your 20s. I think she's like 21. So maybe not super swaddled.
As you wish, your impetuousness.
I mean, that's big Thancred energy, though.
Until then, do try and stay away.
Fair. And we will not succeed. And if you played Shadowbringers, we don't succeed there either. And Serene, to your question, your point, I super hear you. That's part of why I'm replaying this. Is as much I literally spend most hours of the day working on 14, playing 14 stuff, and I still forget so much. So that's exactly why we're working on the lore channel and why we do this is to make it so it's easier for people to get that, and they don't have to go back and search through the entirety of the game. The other thing I'll say is the Chocobo lore is done. The Chocobo script is done, and I've started collecting footage for it. The only question is whether or not my 2 videos on the 12 come out first or the Chocobo video comes out first. And probably the 12 is going to come out first, but the Chocobo is looking to be within the next 2 weeks. So thank you for that idea, and I went hard and wrote as much as I could about it. And it's an interesting topic, and there's also a lot we kind of don't know about them or why they end up the ways they do. Like, even just Dalmascan chocobos, the red chocobos, are kind of a bit of an enigma in a lot of ways. Like, we know what did they show up. We know that they can do things like the comet and such. But other than just probably being a brand of wild chocobo that escaped into Dalmasca from Kurthus, we don't exactly know. Oh my god, if you were able to share footage with me, that would be so freaking handy. The other thing is my graphics card. If my graphics card was a little bit better, I would be able to record the videos at a much higher frame rate. Right now, I usually end up to get all the like nice effects and stuff with the program that I definitely don't use. That is not called a maybe different combination of Shadery. If I turning that on and recording with high bitrate as best I can at 2K makes my frame rate go down to like 50 at best. So that makes the footage not as great. So my hope is that I'm going to like save up some money over time as I can earn some more and put that forth to increase the footage. And yeah, the other thing about sharing footage is make my life easier, because I kid you not, if it, let's say it takes more than this for sure, but let's say it takes 10 hours to make a video. 2 hours of that would go, maybe 1 or 2 go into scripting. 1 goes into editing and everything else, and then 6 or more go into footage gathering. Like, footage gathering just takes so much time to get the right shots at the right place with the right characters, or like even soul crystals, right? Some of those things you have to do new game plus. You can't just go to old videos. Like, for instance, when you like hold up your crystal after you get a new ability, that only plays once, and it only plays when you complete a quest in ARR for your job. So in order to do that, I'd have to New Game Plus at least one quest per class in order to get that footage. So it takes time. And yeah. Sounds good. See you around. Or if you're hanging out, also glad to have you here. And thanks so much for showing up. And sorry I forgot to post that I was doing this. I tried to where I could. Social media management is not my number one forte. Too focused on the work. Thank the gods, you've returned. You had us all worried. You do realize what would happen if a person of your noble stature were to be injured, or worse. Why, Her Grace the Sultana would be beside herself with grief. And so would her subjects. I dare say they'd be weeping in the streets. I don't know. I mean, I think it's fair to say that she'd be sad if she died. But I have already given you cause to weep, Papa Shan. You and the people of Uldah. Sultan Sworn just like, oh, come on. Please, you're not to say such things. We will find it. I swear to you. Oh, right. She's looking for, I believe, the crown of the Sultanate. I apologize for causing you undue worry, Papa Shan. I shall refrain from traveling unescorted in the future. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, I just want to take a second to thank you for all your work on making the Discord what it is. Making just all the background work. It really matters, and it makes my life so much easier. So thank you. I appreciate it deeply. I cannot thank you enough. Much like I cannot thank you enough. I understand you fought bravely to protect Lady Lilira from Voidsent fiends. From your gallant service, you deserve all the riches in royal vaults. Alas, a small token of my gratitude is the best I can offer. A sarcastic man with a strange contraption strapped to his shoulder? I see you met Thancred. He's a scholar who spends his days investigating oddities in the Aether. Rather too fond of the sound of his own voice for my liking, but perfectly harmless. As for you, Lendriel, you're just the sort of adventurer we need around here. I pray you show the same kindness to the people of Thanalan as you did to us today. Cicidoa needs a reliable adventurer to deliver a gift to the coffer and coffin. You're an adventurer, yes? If you're not otherwise occupied, I have a favor to ask. I resolve to repay a debt of gratitude which I owe to the owner of the coffer and coffin. For this purpose, I have purchased from the royal plantations a prodigiously plump pumpkin, a particularly popular piece of produce. Alas, I cannot part this place to pronounce the proffer of the pumpkin. You see, the scheduled shipment from the Nanawa mines, for which I wait, is late. They're just fucking with me. I know this was written almost a decade ago, but they're fucking with me. I would prevail upon you to pick up the pumpkin in my stead and see it safely to the coffer and coffin. Present this receipt to a purchase of Gagari at the royal plantations, and she will yield it to you. I apologize for asking you to attend to this time-consuming task, but I truly appreciate your assistance. Oh, fun thing to note, this is the first time I will have been playing A Realm Reborn since the trimming, as it were. So it'll be, I don't know that I'll actually even be able to fully remember what's been cut out, but it'll be interesting to see. I had a really, really hard time with AR going through the first time. It was a really, really tough slog. You know, in some ways it's ironic that now I'm so into the lore and into the game, because the first time around, I think skipped some text boxes and stuff because I was just like having a really hard time, but I had friends who wanted me to play, and I was like, I got to get into this, you know? And it wasn't even Heavensward I really liked, but I was like still having trouble with. And I think it was around the time of the Warriors of Darkness arc that I really started to connect with it. And I think I think the first point that I really started connecting it was when you get to the end of the Dragonsong War, because that is just some emotional high highs going on there. If CC Doa doesn't come calling soon, this spectacular specimen shall sadly be past its prime. Oh, so you deliver this decadent delight. I can say with confidence that any gourmet would be grateful for such a grand gift. Here's the pumpkin. I hope it meets with Roger's approval. Fresh produce is somewhat scarce in these parts, and as such, we are always deluged with demand. You know the way to the Coffer and Coffin, correct? It is beyond the bridge to the northwest. Look for a place where local laborers lounge. It's unending. The alliteration is unending. Oh, thanks! Yeah, I bought some like $10 programmable LED lights and tried to set them up and tried to set up some lighting and make it look professional, which I am not. But yeah, one of the cool things is I can change the color, do whatever I want. But because I love Cactar so much, I went with green and then blue for the ambient color because I love blue. Oh god, I love Cactar. I love Cactar so much. I really want to get one of those Cactar like night lights or LED laser cut lights. I just haven't had the money for it. But I'm also sad because they have Sabotender triple triad cards, but I made a triple triad board, but they don't have Cactar triple triad cards, so I used Tonberry, Porchefant, Goblins, and Alpha. But one day maybe we'll get a Cactar card. Maybe when we go to the New World, there'll be a whole bunch of Cactar stuff. That'd be awesome. No need to apologize. I look forward to it. I would love to do that. Whether it be a stream together or we, do a conversation or... and that's another thing. One of our other members is me and them are going to be putting out try to do some like audio podcast style things on specific subjects. And our first subject we plan to do is going to be on Nim. Because the 5th Astral Era and the events around Nim, Mach, and Amdapor are incredibly important, and they are so easy to just completely miss. But they tie into a lot of the stuff going on, and will tie into Endwalker probably with Voidsent, and are going to definitely tie into the future. And also tie into Shadowbringers in ways I won't reveal, but are also definitely going to tie into the future. Because at some point, I suspect, we will be going to the 13th shard, the shard that fell to... It was basically where Voidsent are from now, the World of Darkness, basically now. And that will either be an expansion or some kind of content in the future. I will bet money it's going to be about restoring it. Sarian, it's so funny you say that because I believe one of my partners literally joked you're not a real streamer until they start asking for your bathwater. So I now know I'm a real streamer already. Oh, there you go. One of my Carly said it already. Sarian, I will give you my bathwater for $1 as long as shipping doesn't cost $1 because I will put that money then towards better production for the videos. I promise any money that these streams or anything goes directly towards the production of videos and not towards anything else. I think probably the most splurgy thing is I may end up buying a mini fridge to put so I can like have my drinks, set down nearby. Just a thought. But beyond that, yes, I will gladly sell my bathwater and have no qualms about that. Frick it, let's start Eorzean Archives OnlyFans. Just get that like really nice hot Cactar action going on. Maybe that was in poor taste. Okay, back to the story. And yes, Cactars are scarce in 14. I think there are reasons, but I don't recall what. It's mainly Sabotenders. You do see them in imagery at the Gold Saucer, and I know they do exist on Hydaelyn. I'm not sure how common they are to Eorzea. Like, they're present, but they're not super common, which, like the Mammal Jaw and other, groups, makes me wonder, like what I was talking about with the New World, if it's possible that if we go there, we'd see more Cactar, because, one, it's going to be a bunch of different biomes, and two, it would be a really smart idea to see, other versions of some of the stuff going on. We also see, and a good example is on the first, we see a kind of Sabotender Cactar-like thing, So, you know, it's very possible we'll see riffs on it. Oh, hell yes. One, proud of you. Secondly, Eorzean calendar shoot. Eorzean Archives calendar shoot. That's how we're going to make our money. We'll make millions of gil and probably about $2. Oh, Bob, that is a great point. Cactars could totally be on Thavnair. I don't know that we've seen any from there, but there could be a bunch of Cactars on Thavnair. I'll make sure to go do some more research to see if I can find any info either way. Sadly, on the moon, I think it's only going to be Loporrits, Sat, and either Ascian strongholds or maybe a Sat Ascian, because there are a couple Ascians that are unaccounted for. They might be on other shards, but they also could just we don't know. There's a couple of them where we're just like, where did they go? We've got Metron, Gaia, the 3 Unsundered, Nabralis, I'm forgetting her name, but Egerheim. So I think like we have 7 or 8 accounted for, and so there's definitely, you know, there were 13 members, so we've got at least, you know, a couple that we still have unaccounted for. Dude, Thavnair is, I mean, yes, you're going to be a Thavnair expert. It is your home, but I'm so excited for Thavnair. It's very, very exciting. There's so much so little and yet so much that we know about it, and it's a thrilling time. Also, fucking get the clouds over Ilsabard removed. Like, please, I beg of you, let us see what that continent looks like. I want to know how much of the landmass of Ilsabard is Wurlit, and I want to know how much the landmass is Bozja, because, like, are there a bunch of countries in between there? Or is it just, like, Wurlit, Bozja, and Garlemald? We don't know. And I'd be fascinated to know. I have to assume there's at least some amount of landmass in between Garlemald, Wurlit, and Bozja, because if not... it's very possible that there isn't. But I would think that there probably has to be some sort of southern reaches from what we know about the Proto-Garleans. Although they could have just come from, like, the, like, light Ridderon, light Cataract area. So, it's possible that those are the only 3 areas in Ilsabard. And if anyone knows and has specific knowledge to counter that, please. I'm always open to new information. Drink for your lady? Drink for your laddie? You won't get better ale or spirits for your coin than at me place. That's dubious. That's kind of dubious. Give him the pumpkin. It is believed that after eating pumpkin for the first time, the Sultana fell in love with the nutty flavor and ordered all her royal plantations to grow the vegetable. I wonder if they mean the current Sultana or a prior one. What's that? We Doa asked ye to bring this here to me? Heh. So even the foul-mouthed drunk knows the mean and no remorse. Reckon this is for the time I carried his drink sodden arse back home. But hells, an honest-to-God's pumpkin from the royal plantations. I can't wait to see what the cooks will do with her. The lads here scoff down beastly amounts of meat, and it's starting to tell on their health. It'll be good to get more vegetables in their bellies, assuming I can get a stubborn bastard to try something new. Thanks for the help, laddie. Word is, Blackbrush Station sorely undermanned. The stone torches there can't get a moment's peace. Bloke by the name of Warren is hoping to bolster their numbers for a short-term assignment or 2. If you fancy putting a few extra gil in your pocket, you could do a lot worse. I don't fancy putting some extra gil in my pocket. I have like 13 million. I would much rather just continue on with the story, but don't think that's how it's going to be. So we're definitely going to see Moogle lore. We're going to see, and talking mechanically, we're going to see the lore of every beast tribe. I'm going to do a synopsis for each of their stories as well, and do which I've started on those, and a separate video on the lore of each tribe. that's part of why I wanted to put out the like fallacy of the nomenclature of Beast Tribe beforehand, was to like explain why I was going to avoid part of why like I may not be using that language at all within those videos where it can be avoided, to try and be like and also I think it's a genuinely interesting point that is specifically talked about by the developers. So we're definitely gonna see Mughals. Are they a spawn of evil? Well, one could also look at the fact that King Moggle is a thing, and also that his theme is just this is Halloween. So are they evil? Yes. Is Carly going to kill me for that? Also yes. I love Mughals. They are great. Actually, fun thing, my favorite version of Mughals, my favorite version of their design by far is the Kingdom Hearts design, because they just look like little teddy bears, and they're just great. But yes, that will definitely be a thing. Thank you so much for tuning in. Would love to have you again, see you in the future. Thanks so much for watching the videos. Please, any feedback you have, comments, desires for content, I even if I can't get to them right away, I will write them down and make note of them. So thank you so much. Okay, back to the story. Looking for work, perchance? If so, you couldn't have come at a better time. We stone torches are sellswords hired by the Amagina. Is it Amagina? I'm just going to go with the Amagina and Sons mineral concern to protect its interests. Our primary duty here is to keep the tracks clear of pests, and for this purpose that we require your aid. I should point out, however, that it can be messy work, and liable to get messier still if you're ill-prepared. A single piece of gear can mean the difference between life and death. I'll not have it on my conscience that I sent an ill-equipped adventurer into an untimely demise. See to it that your arms and armor are in order. When you're ready, present yourself to me again. I do know how to equip gear. Cheers! Mughals are precious. They're also evil. Precious, but evil. So you're ready for inspection. Good, everything appears in order. Yet know that naught is guaranteed in this world. Fate is a fickle mistress, after all. At any rate, capable adventurers like you are few and far between, and I would not have you throw away your life. I have had to bury too many comrades who brushed aside cracks in their halberds and dints in their helms. No matter what you face, do not disregard the importance of gear. Let's get into it, shall we? Ore wagons pass through the station every day, but not without incident. Wagons coming and going from the dispatch yards to the south must pass through the tunnel by Feska's watch. A tunnel in which some genius saw fit to put an ore storehouse, creating an ideal conditions for a Kobolin nest. So now the ore-loving beasts have taken up residence in a tunnel we dug, and we are practically delivering meals to their doorstep. But no more. Inside the tunnel in question, you will find a narrow fissure where the Kobolins hide. Use this silver ore cluster to lure out the creatures and then slay them. Back when I played Realm Reborn, Amajna? I'm happy to go with that. I literally some of the names are it's not that they're like, oh, I don't understand, but it's just like, okay, but this could go 2 different ways. And please, for the love of God, someone say it out loud in voiceover. That's another reason I'm replaying. I put a poll out on this, but I'd love to hear what everyone's thoughts are on, assuming you're interested in lore, which I kind of assume you are if you're here, between Sage and Reaper, which interests you more? I have a particular fascination with, it could just be class-wise which interests you more, but especially lore-wise, I have a particular fascination with Reapers because, while Sage seems interesting, Reapers, one, deal with Ilsabard, which I'm constantly fascinated with, and they deal with Void Scent, which I'm also fascinated with. So it's just like, even if I don't play a bunch of Reaper, I'm gonna play a bunch of the Reaper story stuff and take a fuck ton of notes because, like, it is just... There's a lot there. Whereas Sage, as far as the information that's been released about them, is just like, Sharlayans made a cool thing because they're smart. Which, yeah, that's cool. Well done. It shan't be easy working to keep the tunnels free of koblins, but our wagons should be able to go unmolested for a time. Disruptions to ore shipments threaten not only the interests of the Amajna. Oh god, but if it's Amajna, why is there an I? I hate language. I love language. I'll go with that for now. We'll just go for Amajna. The interest of Amajna and Sons, mineral concerns, but of Uldah herself. One might liken these train tracks to the veins that bear our nation's lifeblood. If only we had more men like you to lend a hand. The altruistic adventure. I was hoping we'd bump into each other. Why? Because the most fantastic piece of news recently reached my ears, and I'm eager to share it. May I? Rumor has it there is a vast untapped vein of ore beneath the ruins of Sildee. Okay, let's take a moment because this is a thing that's also very easy to move. Uldah used to have a twin sister city named Sildee. Basically, sorry, just one second. Amajina, you're right. It's Amajina. I am just checking a thing real quick. Sorry. My brain's going. I think I'm misremembering. Sorry, Sildee is not the sister city. That's why I was right. I needed to check this. It's Belladia. Belladia was the sister city. Sildee was a city that existed far before Uldah and Belladia, and it is. We don't know a ton about it. Oh, what? Sorry, let me finish this out. But this is not all conceivable. The concerns appears to be entirely ignorant of its existence, and even as we speak, a young upstart, a self-made merchant from Stone's Throw of all places, is moving to claim it. A fellow named Whiston, and he is very, very ambitious young man. Not only does he intend to secure exclusive excavation rights, but they say his master plan is to use his new fortune to curry favor with the Sicarium. Of course, the thaumaturges only consider the opinions of the most wealthy when drafting the laws of Uldah. If you would have your voice heard, you must be prepared to pay a sultan's ransom. One's voice, which is inevitably heard, belongs to Lord Lolorito. Bookmark that, it'll be important later. He has long lavished gil upon the thaumaturges, and some claim that he devises new laws with the express intentions of ruining his competitors while protecting his own interests. Suffice it to say, if Winston thinks he can compete with the likes of the Syndicate, he's in for a rude awakening. But that eventually may yet be a little way off. For the present, he is moving ahead with his plans and assembling a team to survey the site. I'm told he's at the Coffer and Coffin right now, recruiting able-bodied adventurers to escort his prospectors. Warren said you were looking for work. Mayhap you should meet Whiston and volunteer for his expedition. Super cool to see you. Okay, thank you. My brain broke for a second. I was flipping around Belladia and Sildee. Sildee was the sister city of Uldah. And they were at war, and Sildee got destroyed. That's the long and short of it. It's worth noting that because the ruins of Sildee are found for instance, I believe Karn is... Okay, Karn's a weird example because it is a ruins of a place that Sildee used to use, but also existed long before Sildee, so it's not really a ruins of Sildee. But the important thing here being that Uldah used to have a sister city, and it had even a city. There was a city long before that was their like mother city that fell long ago, over 1,000 years ago. Those things come up in the story multiple times, like for instance the secret aqueduct that you venture into. But the reason that that's important is that, like a lot of the really interesting bits and pieces of Final Fantasy XIV, you engage with a lot of the things around it, and it's even offhandedly mentioned without really signposting it as an important thing. Especially when you're playing for the first time, you are just inundated with so much information. You don't know if you're supposed to remember that or what to connect what to, that it makes total sense that people don't remember it. But it's worth knowing, and I'm probably going to make specific videos on that in the future. The problem is right now we don't know what. We know a lot, but not enough to make like a full video really about Sildi and Baladia, other than like a lot of speculation. But one thing we could do is maybe make a thing about Uldah and talk about them in that. Okay, back to the bar. Wystan. Also, so important to understand that the like political system within Uldah is the Syndicate and the Sultanate. The Syndicate is basically people with money and power, and you basically, if you're rich, can functionally buy a seat on the Syndicate. So the people who run the Gold Saucer are on the Syndicate. Raoban is on the Syndicate because he made so much money from being a gladiator, and Lolorito from being a merchant. Also, the Thaumaturges have a seat on the Syndicate through Dulala Dula. And being a part of the Syndicate doesn't mean you're bad, but it can. And all the laws and everything that like matters and is decided in Uldah is basically a push and pull between the Syndicate and the Sultanate. Sounds good. Okay. Come to join. Sorry, but you're too late. Some Brassblades looking for extra coin volunteered, and the team's already en route to the ruins. Important to note, this guy is trying to challenge the Syndicate, the most powerful group of people in Uldah. And specifically, he's threatening Lolorito, one of the most powerful of the members of the Syndicate. Another member of the Syndicate, Teleji Adeleji, who you may remember. Or you may only half remember. But that's important because this guy is saying that he hired some Brass Blades. The Brass Blades are basically mercenaries who all work for the Syndicate. So he just hired the people he's trying to... the bodyguards of the people he's trying to fight as the people to guard him. So I'm sure this is going to go well. But look, I know it's not easy to find work these days. If you're interested, there's something else you can do for me. There are all these children outside, like ones from Stone's Throw. I look after them, and when I have time to spare, and so they've taken to following me around, even when I tell them not to. But what with overseeing the search for the vein, I barely have a chance to visit the privy at the moment, much less entertain younglings. Can you give them these ginger cookies and convince them to go home for me? What is with, like, all the giving away of food as the early quests? I ain't going nowhere, mister. I'm too hungry to move. Besides, you'll have to carry me. A cookie? Well, if Winston really wants me to go home, then all right, but I want to next time. But Winston always plays with us. I'm gonna just assume there's not really anything interesting that these guys have to say. I guess it's important in that they're talking about, like, the humanity. It's important to explain that Winston's a good guy. And that good people trying to get rampant success is not always a great idea in Uldah. I like playing with Winston. He makes us make sure no one bullies us. Also, they were right outside. Why couldn't you just go hand them cookies? What? Thank you, adventurer. I wish only I could do more. Stone's Throw is no place for a child. Not that my childhood was much happier. Never enough food to go around, nor work to earn it. But no shortage of contempt from the great and good. I remember thinking things could only get better. Yet now, after the calamity, everything else, for us refugees, to be forced to live outside the gates like bloody beastmen is a disgrace. So, here, he's also getting at the, like, fact that the beastmen were excised from Uldah and forced to live out. Like, even these people who are suffering, the refugees, I'm assuming from Alamigo if he's a refugee. Although he might just be a refugee from Calamity. Even the refugees are othering the beast tribes, right? Like this is a thing from the very beginning that is clearly like touched upon and like is a vein that goes all throughout the game, even up into 5.55, like especially in 5.4. So it's really not something that should be like seen as like a switch that they're moving to just now. It's like a constant gradual progression as you realize, for instance, things like, oh, Eorzeans can summon. Oh, Garlians look at everybody, all of us as beast tribes because we summon. Oh, why is it distinguished this way? Wait a second, all these beast tribes are all really all intelligent, have culture, all these things. What is really the difference between a Rogadin and a Malja, or a, you know, Sylph and a Lalafell? There really isn't one, and the term also doesn't really fully make sense as a way to just be like anything that's beastly, because we don't use it for the Banaga or, you know, the Sikh. We don't like it's not even like, or the Tengu. It's not consistently used in any way that makes sense. So it doesn't function as a term other than, you know, xenophobically. Like it doesn't. The reason that we use it is because, oh, those other groups are outside of our communities, but they're outside of our communities because we forced them out of our communities. It's this like self-creation of, you know, justification for xenophobia. They say with enough money you can change the laws here, so I'm going to make a fortune and do just that. I'll buy the excavation rights and start my own mining business. Then I'll give my fellow refugees the work they're crying out for, and pay them fairly. The mining companies have profited from our suffering for too long, but in their hubris they've grown complacent, presenting us with a golden opportunity. And we will take it, adventurer. We will claim our dignity, and with it our place within those walls. We found her. We found the vein, Winston. You must come and see it. Already? Amazing. We leave at once. You should join me, my friend. Come and bear witness to the history in the making. Why would he think people would just let him have it? Like, that's the other thing. That doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense. Well, I mean, okay, it does make sense. He's naive. They're explaining to us that he is naive, and they're making that very clear. So it's not really unfair. I do wonder, is he supposed to be a refugee from Alamigo, or is he supposed to be a refugee from the Calamity? I'm sure we can find out later. I'll go check the refugee camps and try to clarify that. Oh no, something went wrong with the brass blades. Who could have ever guessed? Thal's balls, son. A vein of ore in the middle of the ruined bloody city? God's damn idiot. What did you think was going to happen? That you'd strike it rich and get cozy with the Order while the Masters of Uldah looked on? No one crosses the Syndicate. The Syndicate? Oh, come on, you can't be this dumb. You had to know the breastblades. Buddy, I'm sorry, buddy. It's okay. Ha, finally sunk in, has it? Well, look at this. Not all your friends deserted you. It's deserted you, it seems. Lucky boy. Now you won't have to die alone. Why is... O mournful voice of creation, grant ye this humble stone a soul, and that it may wake to life. Why is there a low-level... I mean, I assume he's just causing chaos, but it's like there was already chaos going on. Who's that spouting gibberish? Show yourself. This ain't part of the bloody plan. Bloody hells, does Lord Lolorito mean to kill us too? Okay, I need to write something down quick, actually. The golem has vanished. The man is no ordinary adventurer. Damn, seems I've missed all the fun. I see you didn't need my help this time. Echo. Echo. Wait, does that technically make our first Echo vision? Interesting. I would compose a ballad in your honor, but I fear no words would do you justice. The songstress of Uldah herself could not rival your beauty. Fun fact. Songstress of Uldah is Flamine, which is the surrogate mother of Minfilia, who was not intentionally, but responsible for the death of Minfilia's father. And so basically took on the responsibility of taking care for her. And if you do some side quests, you actually in the MSQ, there is some stuff about this, so you might already know that, but also there's some side quests around that. But that's a 1.0 thing. That's a legacy thing that we don't really, doesn't get touched on too much other than like tangentially in 2.0. There's also a short story from Flamine's perspective about all of that. Well, and about from Minfilia's perspective, but worth noting. Oh, stop it. I have oft heard it is said that the blossom of beauty can move a man to love. Love and long. But I never truly believed it until I met you two desert roses. I hear they attacked another caravan. Aye, and business is suffering for it. Bloody Amalja, what stirred him up to do, you reckon? I'll wager the caravan was carrying crystals, much like the last. If they truly mean to summon a primal, we must act quickly. Are you coming, love? You wouldn't keep a girl waiting, would you? Oh, that makes me sad about the future. No, a girl would keep him waiting, though. Perish the thought. So tell me, where in this marvel of a city might you lovely ladies be staying? Sees imminent danger, thinks, okay, but what if I need to get my groove on? It is really funny how Thancred over the course of like ARR to Shadowbringers really goes from being like a 20-something playboy to a 30-something dad. At this rate, grain will soon be more precious than gold. A result of uncommonly bad harvests, to be sure. And we have you to thank for them, do we not? So important, this is happening during the fall of Dalamud. This is happening during 1.0. This is prior to the Battle of Cartanau. Aye, this weakening of etheric flow must surely be linked to Dalamud's descent. And of course, to the primals. A fine mess, but we must not lose hope. Louis Saw will know what to do. We need only trust in his judgment. So those things allow you to see like etheric flow. That's what the like Charlatan mask things do. Truly a marvel of Charlatan ingenuity. It is as if I could reach out and touch the aether. Or he could just tell you that, making me redundant. So that's a statue of Naltol. And he's at the Thaumaturge Guild, for anyone who hasn't played that questline. Time to focus. No more gallivanting like before. The Scions are counting on you. Have faith. Just have faith. You can do this. Wait, did you just say the Scions are counting on you? Had the way of Circle of Knowing and the Path of the 12 fused at this point? Sorry, I am keeping track of all the like nitty-gritty things that I either don't have an exact answer to, and making sure that I can go back and answer those questions. This disturbance is recent. The sultanry? Maybe Papa Shah knows what's going on. After he disappeared during 1.0, or after he disappeared at the end of the Battle of Cartnow, right? That's what I said. That's what I was getting at, is that I thought it was after the Battle of Cartnow, after Louis Suave disappeared, but he just said the Scions are counting on you, and this is before Dalamud fell. So either this is a flub, or they did. Yeah, right. Okay, cool. They did. Yeah, they did it after Cartnow. Huh. Okay, I'm gonna make a note of that. That's. I would have thought that would, assuming we're right, which I assume we're right. That's weird that that's never been caught or changed. I mean, I get, okay, you know what? There is something to say for the fact that even if it's an anachronism, even if it's not correct, it would be far more confusing to a new player. Yeah, I remember reading that in Encyclopedia Eorzean Volume 1 as well, so I think you're right. I think probably the logic for it is just like, okay, we don't need to throw more proper nouns at a new player. It might be historically incorrect, but it's probably more important to be clear. That or it's just wrong. I don't know. Looks like they gave you quite a thrashing. Can you walk? It's me. I was too late. Our person of interest had already quit the scene. The general? Very well. I shall be there anon. My colleagues went to great lengths to provide me with the means to detect etheric disturbances, but every time I found one, you seemed to be in the middle of it. I'm starting to wonder if I might not have been simpler to just follow you around. Sadly, I have business elsewhere. Tread softly, my friend. The carefully laid trap you dismantled was clearly sanctioned by Lord Lolorito. I heard the Blades mention him as they fled. Believe me when I tell you that he is not a man to be trifled with. The Sultana's enemies grow bolder by the day, and I suspect they have support of the outside forces. Okay, here's the other thing. I'm not saying Uldah is the canonic starting point. I'm not making that case, but there is a case to be said that by starting in Uldah, the end of 2.55 feels more built to. I think it's perfectly built to without it, but I think there's a lot of like really early setup for like Lolorito and the Syndicate and a lot of those things that you already have a little bit of an understanding for by the time you get to the events of 2.1 through 2.55. That I'm not saying Uldah is the best choice. I'm just saying I like Uldah a lot and it has its advantages. Thank you. If you hadn't come along, those bastards would surely have slaughtered us all. I would speak with you further, but it isn't safe for us to linger here. Find me at the coffer and the coffin later. Until then, stay safe. I shall accompany Whiston and his men. They need protection, and I need more information. I feel like Whiston definitely comes back, and I'm forgetting where. And I don't know if it's in MSQ or if it's in like side content for Alamigo. I cannot recall. But where are my manners? I have yet properly introduced myself. I am Thancred, a humble scholar surveying the flow of Aether and Thanalan. It is an honor and a privilege to make your acquaintance. I hope when next we meet, it is under a more auspicious circumstance. Farewell. Wait a moment. It occurs to me that we may have... Never mind. Fare thee well. That's not cryptic. Not cryptic at all. Oh, yes. So The reason that he says that is if you are a character from 1.0, you did meet the Scions. You knew them. You had met them before. They were your friends to an extent. So he had met you before, but no one can remember the Warriors of Light. Maybe because of how they traveled through time, maybe for any number of reasons. So that's him just alluding to the fact that he's like, I think we've met before. Never mind. And that's why there's multiple people throughout the story who do that to you, because you have met them before, no one remembers. Whiston. 12 bless you, my friend. You risked your life to save ours. Betrayed by my own guards. Gods, I was a fool to trust those men. Lolorito owns the goddamn brass blades. I should have questioned their motives from the start. Even so, I hardly have predicted the wealthiest man in Uldah would want me dead for the heinous crimes of seeking to change the law. Have you ever met a person in power? I'm just a merchant for God's sakes. The ruthless bastard. And what of that monstrosity? Those were his own men. It beggars belief. Well, that's it. I'm finished. If I stay in Uldah any longer, I'm as good as dead. My associates, my friends, gods, even the children may not be safe if I don't disappear. And you, goddammit, if Lolorito learns of your involvement, you'll be next. I'll speak with the others and make sure your part in this stays secret. Beyond that, I don't know what to suggest. Maybe you should seek the counsel of Mistress Momodi. She helped countless adventurers in her time. Mayhaps she'll know what we have to do next. Go quickly now. Go quickly now, my friend. Lolorito spies may be watching. I feel like I've done more talking today than I have in the past week, other than like maybe recording for videos, which is good, frankly. Socialization. I mean, if you can call this socialization, but I will gladly take some socialization, which is also why I appreciate any and all messages you guys put in chat, even if it's just like thoughts, random nonsense, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, okay, maybe not completely random nonsense, but it's nice to engage with the audience. It's nice to engage with all of you guys. Okay. I'm noticing that there's some frame rate dips and drops too. So one of the things I'll do is next stream, I'll try to do some stuff to figure those out and make it so the gameplay is a little nicer, and a little more pleasurable to watch. In the meantime, I'm going to see what I can do to decrease any lag that I can. It's interesting that Sid does, despite not having the Blessing of Light or the Echo. Though, one could wonder if it isn't part and parcel to the fact that he has his own memory issues. But yeah. It's a good point. Settle down, Lendriel. You've got nothing to worry about. No one seems to know you were at the ruins. Winston, on the other hand, is now a pariah. About as welcome around here as a rabid wolf, poor bugger. Suffice to say, the boy risks the wrath of the wrong man. Lord Lolorito, chairman of the East Aldernod Trading Company. Obviously a reference to the historical East India Trading Company. Also, Aldernard is so Eorzea, the map that we know of. Actually, I can't pull it out. Okay, I'll pull it up in a second. But the map of Eorzea, there's the big landmass, and then there's the island that Limsa's on. That island is called Vilbrand, and the main landmass is called Aldernard. Eorzea is those two together, geopolitically together. So the East Aldernard Trading Company is referring to Aldernard, the main continent itself. Ironically, Thavnair is more akin to India, so, I mean, Aldernard and India are not in any way related. One way to look at the landmasses broadly, very vaguely and broadly, is Eorzea is Western Europe. Ilsabard is Eastern Europe. Othard is Asia. Hingashi specifically is Japan. I mean, Hingashi is just the Hingashi's kind of Japan, but I mean, the cultural inspirations are spread out throughout. So it's not as simple, as straightforward as that. The New World is obviously like America, and then Mericidia, it's not really clear if it's more Africa or Australia, but it's something like that. So yeah. Back to the story. Lord Lolorito, the chairman of the East Aldenard Trading Company, generous contributor to the Order of Naltol and member of the Syndicate. So that was important to note there, is he contributes a lot of money to the Order of Nalthal and the Thaumaturges, which means that he, in a sense, has close to 2 seats on the Syndicate because they also have a seat on the Syndicate. Or at least he's friendly with them. Didn't get where he was by leaving loose ends, that one. Which is why we ain't above killing his own men. Hells, even if those blades knew what was coming, it's not like they could refuse to do their benefactor's bidding. Sigh, don't let the color... Let me do that again. Don't let the color your view of Uldah, Lendriel. It's true that there are some here who ain't afraid to crack a few skulls if it gets them what they want, but most of us are decent folk, just trying to make ends meet. You know, a lot of people would call you a damn fool for risking your life to save a marked man. But I believe you did a good thing, Lendriel, and for that you have my respect. Listen, you've been through a lot lately. Why don't you rest a spell? I'll have the boys at the Hourglass set you up with a room. My treat. Just have a word with Otopa whenever you feel like staying. In rooms now available. And when you get your appetite for adventure back, consider taking on a guild leave or 2. This is just telling you all the basics of, guild leaves, and which leaves were a much bigger thing in 2.0 and 1.0. Or I guess not leaves in general. None of that matters. Back to the story. Look what the curl dragged in. Good to see you, Lendriel. I'd ask what brings you, but I'd reckon we both know the answer to that already. Well, have I ever let you down? Wait, don't answer that. I barely know you, but fair. So what happens if I know a fellow by the name of Thanalan who needs a hand? He's a merchant by trade, selling precious stones to those in Uldah with the means to buy them. He asked that I send any looking for work his way. You can find him over in Horizon if you fancy. That's in Western Thanalan, mind you, just across the bridge north of Scorpion Crossing, and the road will take you there. Knowing the circles he deals in, might be he'll have some talk of the royal family that'll interest you as well. And why not make use of a chocobo porter for your journey to Horizon, if you've got the gil for that is. You'll find the chocobo stables just across the way from Quicksand. So yeah, before you get a chocobo, one of the things that exists is chocobo porters, which allow you to mechanically allow you to travel, but also, interestingly enough, it used to be that all chocobo came from Ishgard, and there was a tight control of them. But there was a big plague during the time of 1.0 that drastically reduced their numbers, and starting in 2.0, they to increase their numbers, they made it so they were more widespread and more widely allowed, which is why you get things like in Gridania, you have the stable that lets you raise chocobo for racing. So this here is Eorzea as a whole, but this landmass, this island is Vilbrand, and you can actually see that right here in Eorzean script. It says Vilbrand, and right here it says Aldenard. So big landmass Aldenard, small landmass Vilbrand, together Eorzea. And then Othard, you got basically Asia in general, and then you got Japan-ish. And if we... I've totally forgot. There we go, world map. Or not. Okay, well, doesn't matter, it's fine enough. But I can't wait for the fucking skies over Ilsabar to be fucking uncovered. Jesus Christ, I'm so tired of being there. Show me the map! I'm actually kind of terrified that they're going to keep the frickin' clouds over Ilsabard and still just make a dot for Garlian Empire that you can teleport to. And it's just like, no! Give me an actual map, damn it. Geography matters. Okay. We're going to Western Thanalan. Who's ready to do a lot of teleporting to Horizon and then walk into frickin' the Wakened Sands? Okie doke. Actually, we don't do that for a bit, so we got some time. Lendriel, I presume. Aye, Momodi said to expect you, and so I have. Welcome to Horizon. Ours is a trading settlement that sees goods in from port of Vesper Bay to the west. And trade we do. Nary a day goes by in Horizon that Horizon isn't bustling with some manner of merchants and officials. They keep us running about busy. They do. Enough so that I wish I had chocobo legs in place of my own. That's why I asked Momodi to send me and any souls looking for work. Imagine a Lalafell with chocobo legs. If any of you are artists, I beg of you. I need this nightmare fuel in my life. Thank you. 12s know there's plenty of it to be done around here. Speak to me again when you're ready to make yourself of some use. If I talked to you in the first place, I was already planning on making... I feel like it's stuff like that. There's just snappy things like that, too, where it's like ARR could be much faster and much more... Yes, you could ferry from Limsa. That is absolutely, saves a little bit of time. With flight, I don't even know that actually would end up saving you a ton of time. Worth trying, though. It so happens that I have a situation that must be resolved post-haste, and I do mean post-haste. I'm plumb out of premium product, and my latest order has yet to arrive. If I keep my customers waiting any longer, this could irrevocably damage my reputation. What's worse, I've paid my man in advance for his service. Despite his assurances that I would be a simple affair, I've heard nothing since he departed for the Copperbell mine days ago. Find Drunken Stag and give him this notice. I can't afford any further delay. Also, hey, Undo Hex. Good to see you. What do you want? Dadanen's products. Hand over that. He can send all the notices he likes, but it won't change a thing. The concern has closed the mine due to some incident in the depths. It's goddamn shame, too. Lost a decent haul just over yonder during all the chaos. The product you heard, Dadanen, going on about is a valuable gemstone known as raw nashasite? Raw nashasite. I managed to dig up a goodly amount just before the mines were closed off, actually. Packed it up and hauled it out, even. But then them 12's damn koblins came along, not like koblins I had seen before, and hungry only for good rocks. They had eyes for my gemstones, so I had no choice but to oblige. The stone torches had their hands full evacuating the mines, so they ignored the beasts. Even now, they only concerned with keeping people out. Please, friend, if you're willing to face the koblins, would you bring me my nashasite? I'm assuming that what's going on is they reopened the Copperbell mines, they went in, and the Hecaton Kyries and all other... And basically, a long time ago, the rulers of Uldah had made slaves of a group of giant-like creatures called Hecaton Kyries, and also enslaved them with mind-controlling helmets. But they started to break free and started to revolt. So in order to, instead of dealing with it, the Uldah, people of Uldah, the rulers of Uldah, just sealed the frickin' entrance. So they were trapped underground for hundreds of years. But recently, unknowingly, the people of Uldah have reopened the Copperbell mines to try and mine it. And everyone that was still alive and had gone insane and are now, going crazy. And that's why you have to go into the Copperbell mines and stop them in the first place. Final Fantasy XIV can be very, very dark rather frequently. And it's interesting though because it's not like a constant tonal shift. It actually does weave them together rather elegantly in most cases. And it's interesting that how much of the story in ARR is sometimes dark-ish, but like a lot of the darker elements are reserved more for the like backdrop. How am I killing them? I can just take the ore. I keep thinking that they're going to attack me. Or maybe they do if I try to take the ore. Ah, the beauty of level 80 doing low level content. But yeah, one of the things we'll be doing too is I have a couple scripts wrapping up for the different early quests. Excuse me. For AR, or not quests, dungeons for AR, because really all of them have some really fascinating information about them. Also, this just says no entry for anyone who's curious. I'm glad that practicing reading Eorzean script has paid off. How did you fare, friend? Did you find the raw Nashasite? An extremely rare variety of malachite that gets its name from its deep green color. The same color as former Uldah Sultana Nanashan ul Nasha. That's where the name comes from. Oh, Nanashan ul Nasha's eyes. Interesting. Doesn't Nanamo have green eyes too? I wonder if she's a descendant. I'll write that down. I mean, she's definitely a descendant. You can tell just by being a member of the family of Ul. But I wonder how distant they're related. I forget what Nanamo's mother's name is. So, or Nasha, Nanasha might also have been the sister of Sasebo, or Sasebo, right? Yeah, Sasebo. Okay. Which is also a story I'd like to cover, which is the what is it, 80 Sins of it's called the 80 Sins of Sasebo, or the 80 Steps of Sasebo, which is a really touching and powerful story, and also a really good primer on the how much of Eorzean history might also be revisionist history, which is worth noting, because it's very easy to just be like, this is factually what happened, but it's not always the case. Like, for instance, if you take the Church of Ishgard and the original Ishgardians' argument for like where they came from and where the idea for Ishgard came from and all that is not historically true at all, and completely ignores and it willfully ignores the relationship that they had with dragons before. So we have to be careful in just taking anything as granted. Beautiful, isn't it? Rarer than many stones and more expensive than most. They say the green is the same as the eyes of Nanashan ul Nasha, who once ruled as the Sultana. They should save Thanalan from his troubles if there's enough left. There's far less here than what I found. I reckon those kobolds made a meal of this stuff. Bloody waste. You'd like a chance to make some money, right? Then I know just how I can repay you for the kindness. Swarms of midges have been harassing travelers along the road connecting to Horizon to here. It's gotten so bad that the brass blades have started paying folks to keep the roads clear. If you find it hard to believe that the swarms of tiny midges could be so troublesome, then you've never seen a chocobo driven into a frenzy by one. There've already been some terrible accidents. So do your part and slay a few swarms. After that, let Fufu Lupa know he'll reward you for your troubles, and maybe even offer you more work. See, it makes me sad that there's the fact that there's a kill X amount of things as a part of the story quest. I understand in the beginning, right? There are new players. There are people who maybe haven't played an MMO before, and there are people where like this actually is a good onboarding. But for anyone who's experienced and played a lot of like MMOs or even just a lot of games, sometimes it is like, okay, can we continue on to the more interesting stuff? I do feel a bit for the developers too, though, because it's a lot of really small bits of groundwork are laid both for any of the three nations when you play through these early parts, and they're done not just like, like knowing a little bit about knowing that someone named that the sultanates existed for a while, right? And that is implied by the eyes, and giving little bits of pieces of the world, you know, does a lot. But at the same time, it's like, okay, but can we carry on to like the main part of the story? Okay, good. Yeah, I thought I recognized the name, but I didn't want to say that for sure offhand because I don't want to like be like, this is the fact when I can't remember for sure if it is correct. I think her name's mentioned in Encyclopedia Eorzea Volume 1. Almost certainly I think that's the case. Which is interesting because that would mean that like that gem has only had its name for like at most 40 years, at absolute most. Greetings and salutations, adventurer. To what do I owe this? What? You've slain how many swarms of sun midges? You have my sincerest thanks. The brass blades have been struggling to keep them in check, so your assistance is greatly appreciated. Fufulupa is a great example of like what I meant earlier when I said brass blades are not all bad, because it's not just like, oh, they're not all bad. It's like, no, there's different people with different motives. You know, there's people actually believe in what they're doing and trying to do the right thing. Yeah, 1555. Nanamo was born quickly after that. It is 15. Yeah. 1562. 5. Yeah, so it couldn't be more than 40 years. Because if she was like in her 20s when she had Nanamo, which I mean, she could have been older, but like probably wasn't much older than that. If she wed Nanamo's father, you know, probably would have been relatively early in life. Not like when she was like 40 or 50. I just want to check one thing real quick. It's so funny. I'm sure like more than 90% of players find this like inanely unnecessary and boring, these little details. But I fucking live for that shit, man. I live for it. Yeah, she was born 1 year later. Okay, cool. So that would make her, at the time of the Calamity, 16, and it's been 5 years, so she'd be 21. Cool. Because Calamity is 72. It is technically 1577 at the start of ARR. So yeah, she should be 21. You have my sincerest thanks. The brass blades have been struggling to keep them in check. Will you be staying in Horizon long? If so, there is much and more you can do to help here. Yes, becoming Sultana at 6 years old. Because her parents died in an accident, correct? I believe. Pray, allow me to enlist your aid, brave adventurer. I would have you ascertain in the whereabouts of a missive I sent to Lost Hope the other day. Captain Leofric is stationed there ever since he was transferred. We've exchanged letters, but never before has it taken this long to receive a reply. And so I fear that the courier may have met with some misfortune en route. She must have made it to Central Thanalan, or the brass blades that patrol the roads between here and the Scorpion Crossing would have seen something. But if she made it as far as Blackbreast Station, she would have surely delivered the letter by now. Lost Hope is practically on its doorstep. I suggest you focus your search on the road to Blackbreast Station in Central Thanalan. With luck, you will find her quickly. It's probably going to be quicker just to fly. Yeah, I know I'm having some frame drops. So, for people who are watching, I can restart the stream and make it so there's a longer delay, which will help the frames. Is everyone okay with that? Me restarting the stream real quick? Also, I absolutely agree with you. I think accident in quotations too is very, very likely. Is it certain? No, it's absolutely speculation, but I think it's deeply possible. I mean, even just when we know, even if it wasn't this, just from what we know about the Syndicate, it's likely, but hell, there's all sorts of people who could have benefited from it. Also, we know that Lolorito has connections to the, to Othard and, and Kukane. Yeah, let me know, guys, if you want me to restart the stream and try and fix the bitrate. I won't be delivering it anytime soon, though. Got to tend to my bird's injured leg first. Even the most minor of cuts can fester if ignored. Fufulupa sent you, right? If this is a pressing matter, why don't you take it to the rest of the way? Lost Hope's just past Blackbreast Station to the northeast. Look for the tents by the river. Okay, I am going to pause here, and we're going to restart the stream, and hopefully that will help. See you all in a minute or so.